put him on the line, and after a few minutes, they had you take him off the line and go wash him again all day long. And
wow. Okay.
that stood out. That kind of makes you take good care that you are spotless.
Sure. Okay. All right. All right. So now that you're finishing up your basic, I guess that's what they call it in basic.
Yeah.
Okay. And you were assigned. Were you assigned any training before you went to Missouri, or you went straight to?
No. They were supposed to, as I said, when I signed up. It's supposed to have been a promise that they would send me to radio school, but they didn't. They sent me straight on board the Missouri.
Oh, okay.
And
what was the Missouri doctor at that time?
It was docked in Norfolk, Virginia.
Okay. All right. Now, how did you get to Norfolk from Chicago?
First, I went home. I think I forgot how many days leave they gave me, and then I took a train, I believe, from Detroit to Norfolk.
Okay.
No, wait a minute. On one instance, I took a bus. Down south, and that stands out in my mind because there was one young white girl, and she went to sleep on my shoulder, and we were going down through the south, and that kind of shook me up a little bit.
You on the bus?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, did you wake her up?
No, I didn't. I was a little apprehensive.
I know. Okay. All right. All right, so now you get to Norfolk, and what do Navy people do when they first get to a new assignment or something? What did you have to do?
Well, the first thing you do, of course, when you come on board ship, if you go on board or off board, you have to salute the officer on deck, as they call it, and then they assign you to a bunk. And the first thing they did was they put me on the deck force.
Okay.
And on that deck force, since it was in the dock and it was being refurbished, those things that you break up cement with, that's what we took the paint off the side of the ship.
Oh.
This shoulder here, we had to learn how to, the stage you see the people with the window washing, and that dock was it dried, I guess, way down there. If you slip and fall, and so the stage, you hook it on the side of the ship and lower it down, and then you lower it down, and you stand down there, and you first take the paint off, then you take a wire brush and brush anything that looks like any kind of rust, because they make sure that a ship doesn't have any of that. Then you take red lead paint, which didn't dawn on me. I didn't know at the time that lead was not a good thing to inhale. And you would use the red lead, and then you would, what's on those stages, slip knot. And then you would marry your ropes and lower down further to do another spot. And I forgot how to tie the slip knot. And it was going like that, and I'm looking down, and the guy on the other end, he's trying to edge over, and at the last minute I remembered how to tie the slip knot.
Oh, okay.
That was pretty harrowing. And so we went down in the bilges as well, and it's about 7 decks down. And one instance, we had the light down there, and they had a guard around the light, and one of the guys going from one, somehow or another, the light broke, and because it's an enclosed space, and you had all these paint fumes, the whole room caught a fire. And guys were stepping on one another trying to get out of there, and fortunately nobody was hurt. But, I didn't realize that inhaling paint you get drunk.
Oh.
So I was drunk quite often down there in that 7 decks down with no air vent and all of that. You come up and it takes quite a while out in the air to get over that paint drunk. That's a nasty, that is not a nice drunk. Right?
Oh,
It's a
okay.
nasty drunk.
Wow.
And I was on the deck force for about 2 months, I believe.
Okay.
And fortunately, one of the boatswain mates, I don't know what prompted him to do it, but he looked at my test score. And he asked why I was on the deck force. Because, you know, if you had a pretty high test score, Navy, you know, they test you when you go in the Navy, they give you a test. And on the basis of that test, they send you to school or put you in some area where that test score indicates that you should be in. So I guess he went to the commanding officer and told the commanding officer I didn't have any business being on the deck force.
Okay.
So I had indicated to him that the Navy had promised me that I was going to radioman school. So now we're underway now, and they put me on in the communication division.
Oh, okay. All right.
And
Before I forget, before I go further, the Missouri, is that a destroyer?
no, that's a battleship.
Battleship, okay.
It's called BB-63, Battleship 63.
Okay.
And there were 4 of them that were made during World War II.
Okay.
And they were all 888 feet. It's a little city.
Oh, okay.
It had over 1,000, close to 3,000 people on board.
Oh, okay. All
And
right.
during wartime, they put as many. You have a Marine detachment on board as well. And so they put me on in what is called right here the C division, which is communication division. And before that, though, before they did that, we were on the way to Korea, and I was still on the deck force. It was funny. It's supposed to be top secret that we were warned. We stopped in New York, and we were warned not to divulge to anybody that we were on our way to Korea. So we have shore leave. And the New York papers had the headlines, USS Missouri on the way to Korea. That was funny. But we stopped in New York. And then we go down and head towards the Panama Canal to go through the canal. And the Missouri, I think, is 108 feet wide. And so they got what they call camels, which is boatswain mates weave these huge ropes. And they drop them over both sides because we really weren't supposed to go through the canal because we were too big, too wide. And so we took you could smell all that rope burning, and I think we took a couple of chunks out of the canal. So on the way back, they wouldn't let us back through. And that's another, I'll tell you about that one. So when we get through the canal, we have an admiral on board. And they got a skiff. And so we get through the canal, now we're in the Pacific Ocean. And the admiral lowers his boat, his skiff, and he circles the ship while we're underway now. And decides that we're supposed to paint some of the things that got scraped. And that ain't funny. You got what's called a boatswain chair, so I had to, along with some other guys, we had to go over the side while the ship is underway. If you fall, they got 4 propellers that are much, much larger than this room. A man looks like that alongside of those propellers. And you look down at that water and that boat's moving. And of course, that's a no-no, what I just said. You say boat in the Navy, that's a discipline. A boat is any water-going vessel that can be hauled aboard a larger vessel. So a boat is not what a ship is. A ship is